Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is Greenleaf Season 3. Yes, Season 3, Episode 11 and 12. And the name of Episode 12 is Day of Reckoning. But before I tap into that, I'm going to do a short recap of what happened on Episode 11. Yo, Greenleaf is on fire this season. And I can't wait until the finale, which is going to be coming out next week. But I wasn't able to recap episode 11, so I'm going to actually talk about it now. Now, what happened in episode 11 was everything. Because here it is, you got Lady May, who is in deep, turmoil because she has a strong feeling that Lionel may be Grace's father. And she talks about that around that time, she was still bitter and upset about the bishop stepping out on her with Mavis. And she said that she was planning on leaving him, but then they had that vacation coming up with Lionel and his wife, and that's when they had sex for the first time, and she wound up pregnant, and the dates pretty much kind of lined up, but she doesn't know whether Grace is Lionel's baby or the bishop's. So we see all of this happening, and I have to say, Maxine, even though Maxine is messy and she's there deliberately to push the bishop out of the church and put May as the head, she was telling May some real stuff. Like, one thing she said that stuck with me is that there are no secrets in the presence of the king. You want to be in the pulpit and you want to be a voice and a mentor to many. You can't have any secrets. And she says that the future can be beautiful if women only tell the truth. So Maxine is even telling her that she needs to come out with this. She needs to talk to Grace and let Grace know. Lady May is trying to dodge all of that, because Lady May is all about her prestige and all about making sure that her Lady Day event goes off without a hitch. So that's her main focus. She just keeps putting it in the back like it doesn't exist. And this is one of the things that Lady May, one of the things that always trips up Lady May is that she never can own her stuff. Then we get a scene where Grace is talking to the bishop about, what she found out about Rochelle being Daryl James's daughter, and that her and Basie being half brother and sister. And pretty much, the bishop still, at this time, is still kind of in denial about Rochelle. And then the next thing you know, the FBI comes in left and right. We see that Lady May and Maxine are doing this interview promoting, the She Changes Everything Lady Day event. The FBI come and shut that down. And then not only that, they're also over there at Triumph, and they're raiding, Triumph. And then we come to find out the person that tipped off the FBI was the new accountant Obi at Triumph. He was like, "Oh, I am so glad you're here because I found some stuff here that just didn't sit well with me." So we come to find out that Obi was the one that called the FBI, and the connection as far as the accounts, for some odd reason, well, not surprisingly, this whole thing with the accountant Triumph was tied up with the accounts at Calvary. So we see all this go down. We see that Grace ends up calling Elliot the lawyer. Now, Elliot is somebody that I am on the edge of my seat about, because I don't trust Elliot as far as I can throw him. Because as soon as he saw the number ring, he kind of had this smirk on his face before he answered the phone. So I'm peeping, old boy, like, what's your angle? And then on top of it, you know, Rochelle was the one that brought you in to represent Cora Lee. So I'm like wondering, what's his aim and what's his angle? What's he trying to do? But we come to see that he ends up meeting with, you know, Jacob and the bishop, and he lets them know what is all happening. This is, you know, this is money laundering. This is fraud and corruption. And what he explains, because it got to the point where Jacob and the bishop were going back and forth, you know, slandering each other, just like knocking each other down. But Elliot explained what happened was that there was an account at Triumph where money was being withdrawn out of Triumph's account into this account called the People's Church, you know. And what happened is that $200,000 was withdrawn from that account, and it connected it to the bishop, you know, withdrawing money to pay for the IRS, to pay the IRS bill. So they're like, how the hell did that even happen? You know, how is that even possible? And he's saying that, so pretty much Elliot just put it out there what went down. Then we see over there on, you know, in Triumph, you know, Jacob is trying to reach out to Tasha, but Tasha is acting in denial that she doesn't know what's going on, and Basie is sitting right there next to her while she's having this conversation. And Carissa is like coaching, you know, Jacob, and he's like, and she tells him like, tell her you love her, just tell her. And he's like, Tasha, I love you. And this pissed Basie off. Basie was in his feelings about that. And we also see that Carissa is kind of fuming too, because later on she kind of like checks Jacob and was like, you got feelings for her. And he's like, well, look what, you know, she's the only one that can help us. Like, but nah, you got feelings for her. You got special feelings for this woman, because here it is, you know, you going out your way, you know, to meet up with her. But then again, Tasha is the only person that can right this situation. She's the only person that can come forward, and she knows what actually happened. So definitely Carissa kind of let Jacob know that she wasn't feeling this shit. And then back with Tasha and Basie, but then back with Tasha and Basie, she's trying to make him food, trying to butter him up. Oh, he is mad and in his feelings. And he's like, here I am going, you know, dodging, trying to prevent people from killing me, and here you are carrying on with Jacob Greenleaf. And she says nothing really happened, and besides, I thought you were dead. He's like, I had to hide to protect you so people wouldn't come after you and all that. I'm like, fool, you are lying. You had to hide because you knew people were out to kill you, especially those loan sharks that you borrowed money from that you never paid back. These people are after your behind, so that's why you was hiding and dodging. It had nothing to do with Tasha. But then he tells Tasha, I don't think I could ever trust you ever again. You know, you have proven that you're not loyal. So that whole thing went down. So let's see. So another thing that also went down as far as the raid, you know, they raided everything at Calvary as well. Charity, you know, they take her laptop and all that. So soon as she sees her mother, she's like in panic mode, like, Mom, what is going on here? They took my sheet music. They took everything. They took everything that I was working on. What am I going to do? And Lady May flipped on and was like, for once, can you be a help in a crisis situation? For once, could you be useful instead of making it about your whiny little self? You know, and just kind of shut her down in front of everybody. And then she goes over there to go off on the bishop, because it's like, I divorced your ass, and yet I still am tied up in all your mess, and just going off. And it's kind of funny, because here it is, you know, she she kind of first approached Gigi like, "Where's your father at?" I'm like, he's over there on the phone. And she just kind of went over there and just started attacking James. And I'm like, wow. You know, it's just like Lady May is just a piece of work, because here it is. She is so quick to put everybody's stuff up in the light, but she wants to keep her secrets buried and doesn't want them up for dear life. And it's just crazy that she's so backwards like this, but wants to be in the pulpit to minister to souls. It's kind of scary, isn't it? So we see that after Charity, you know, gets that, she gets a wind of, you know, one of the FBI agents. And oh boy, used to be on Hit the Floor. I forgot his name. If y'all remember his name, put it down in the comments. But yes, brother is fine. So she reaches out to him and she was saying that, look, I really need your help. Because, you know, I'm a PK kid. And you know what it's like being a PK kid. The microscope is always on you. Everything you say and do is always being seen by somebody. And she said that when I was younger, I wanted to be an actress. And this guy took some very provocative photos of me. And they're on my mother's laptop. I wanted to know if I can get those photos because I don't want a scandal. Well, the FBI agent said that, look, I'll talk to my chief and I'll get back to you. We later come to find out, you know, he actually talks to his chief, and he says his chief said that if it has nothing to do with the IRS investigation, you can get your materials back. But he says, but I have to go through it first, though. So she's like, oh, so you want to look at the photos? He's like, yeah. And all of a sudden, Charity was like, you know there are no photos in there, right? And he's like, yeah. Because, you know, he had already looked at it already. And he was like, so okay, PK, won't you show me what's you know, what's in this laptop that you wanted it back so bad. And I had to say, Charity did her thing in this episode, because she used her feminine wiles to get that FBI agent to get back that laptop. And it was her mother's laptop, because she said the pictures were on hers. And what she ended up getting back was everything that Lady May was doing for the program. Her PowerPoint, her speech, the music, the whole entire program. And what she does is she puts it all on a flash drive, drops it off on her mother, and was like, is that useful enough for you? I was like, you better get her. You better get her, Charity. Yes. I was so happy she did that. Now I'm going to talk about Zora and Isaiah. Because we see in episode 11, she's kind of beginning to outgrow this whole Isaiah situation. She wants to go to the studio with him, but he's like, oh, nah, baby, you know, I don't, you know, you seem like you be bored when you there and everything, so won't you stay here, here's some money, here, you know, be a fly girl, get your nails done, get a pedicure, get your hair did, and, you know, just do that. And Zora is kind of taken aback because she always go to the studio with him. Why all of a sudden now her going to the studio is a problem? Well, let's just say she had a saving grace. Sophia is on Instagram and noticed that this girl is in the studio with Isaiah, and she sends the video to Zora. It's like, do you know about this? Like, so that was crazy in and of itself. And eventually Zora does confront Isaiah about it, and he's saying that, nah, she's nothing to me, she's just you know, one of my fans, and you know you my first lady, you my everything, and blah blah, and ends up talking her down. And little Ike Turner whipped it out on her. And but then again, later on that evening, she waking up looking at the pictures, because she's beginning to see that this whole thing with Isaiah was not what she thought it was going to be. And she's starting to get the realization that she really has no life in this relationship. That it's all about him. And if you're not all about him, that's when he attacks. So we saw that go down. Who else did I miss? I think I pretty much got that down. So Next thing you know, we see that, you know, because we also saw in this episode too that Lionel has been trying to get in touch with Lady Mae, but Lady Mae said she was going to call him back. Finally, Aaron called her and let her know that they had changed his antibiotics and it didn't take, and Lionel ended up dying. And I don't know if you peeped this, but did you see this, like, this overwhelming happiness came over Lady Mae? Like, she was happy that Lionel died so that he wouldn't tell her truth. Because Lionel wanted to let it be known that Grace is his daughter. And now that she knows that he's dead, she's like, great. Now I don't have to worry about it. And even Lady Mae was, and even, Maxine Patterson was telling Lady Mae, you need to get in front of this. Because the worst thing to do is to get into this realm of God's grace with secrets that can come back and pretty much destroy you. She's trying to give her pointers, but Lady Mae is like, well, I ain't got to do nothing now because he's dead. I ain't got nothing to worry about. I don't have to worry about anything. Little do you know, because Aaron was quick to go and tell Grace about the situation, and we know that Aaron is known to snitch because he told Kevin about the divorce before Charity did. Excuse me. Sorry about that, y'all. So yeah, he told Kevin about the divorce before Lady Mae did, and he's, you know, now told Grace about this whole situation involving his father, because he sits Grace down and she says, I know this has got to be hard, and he's like, it's more harder than you think. And lo and behold, here it is. Grace, when Grace finds out, she confronts her mother about it. Is Lionel my father? She looked at her with this cold stare and was like, I don't know, and walked away. And I was like, Lady Mae, you are going to rot for this, because what this comes to show, what you did was far worse than what the bishop did. You had a child and you knew it a possibility that it wasn't his kid, and yet he raised his child as his own. And you know, him and Grace are very close, and to come to terms that may not be her father, and you would kind of blow it off like it's nothing, well, I don't know. Well, that says a lot about you, Mae, that you don't know who the father of your baby is. Yeah, so we pretty much see that, yeah, so pretty much now picking up, so that's all I have for episode 11. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. But we see now opening with episode 12, the Day of Reckoning. It picks up where it left off when after she told Grace she don't know who her daddy is, and Grace chased her down. She's like, whoa, pump, stop, Mom. Is Lionel my father? And she says that, look, do you want to use this to get back at me? Because if you do, just say it now. Just scream it throughout the entire halls, so I don't have to get messed up in your father and all of his foolishness. And I'm like, and you still got the nerve to be arrogant when you the one doing the dirt, sis? And she's like, and then Grace is like, you know I would never do that to you, Mama. And she's like, well, good, because I never want to speak about this again. And all of a sudden, after that, I was just like, wow. The nerve of people and the arrogance. Like, sweetie, you did the unthinkable. And you knew. And yet you still was all about your image. You were all about the presentation. And it goes to show that Mavis was probably right. You know, last season when they got into it and she told her the truth about James, about their affair, and then she said that, look, what he had with you was business. It's always been business, and it always will be. because that's when the two of them are equally yoked. When it comes down to the business, when it comes down to the presentation of church and the presentation of family, they are literally image consultants, and they are perfect when it comes to that. But then we see that they don't always, but then yet we see that how they are they are unequal in other areas, you know, that are very important. I mean, one thing, they also love their children, you know, but, and that they make a perfect team as far as the church business. But yeah, for the fact that you literally had James raise Lionel's child, and I was just really thinking about Lionel too, and I'm like, man, Lionel's a piece of trash. Because you knew that that was your baby, and you sat there quiet and said nothing, and you let this man raise your child, and she just knew you as Uncle Lionel because y'all were such close friends, and you knew the whole time that was your daughter. But you're gonna wait till now you're about to die to now you want to come clean and tell everything. So yeah, Lionel wasn't crap, and to tell you the truth, Lay is just as messy as he is. So what does that say about May? So then we get a scene, you know, with Carissa and Jacob. You know, he's pretty much saying that, look, I want, because oh yeah, I forgot to mention in the last episode, we see that Jacob, that Tasha reaches out to Jacob that she wants to meet up with him, but instead of her meeting up with Jacob, Basie meets up with him, and they had this exchange, and he was like, oh, what you worried about my wife for? Shouldn't you be worrying about Carissa? I think we need to kind of mind our own wives, if you ask me. And he was saying, so what happened between you and Tasha? What did you do? And he was saying that, look, we just kissed, that was it, nothing happened. And he says something that was profound. He says, yeah, one man's nothing is another man's everything. So yeah, she means nothing to you, but she means the world to me. And he kind of threw this thing out there like he was about to mess Tasha up. And he says that, look at you. You came out here to meet her, and yet I got her phone. So don't text my wife again, because you ain't gonna get to her, because I got her phone, and you'll never see her again. So immediately Jacob's in this panic mode, thinking that something bad had, like, he put that kind of thing in the air, so now he thinks that Basie is going to try to do something to her, Tasha. And Carissa is just over it. She was like, do you realize that our life is ruined? Like, you didn't come to hug me or anything after everything we have, that we could lose everything, and here you are worrying about Tasha. And she says, and besides, she said she don't know what's going on, and he was like, well, of course not, because Basie was sitting right there. Basie is controlling her, and Basie, you know, will hurt her if we don't get to her. And she's just over it, you know, and pretty much, you know, Carissa was like, it's obvious this woman loves you, but where does that leave me? You know, this woman's in love with you. But then he's trying to tell her that, look, if we can get Tasha, we can use Tasha to talk to the FBI, and we all can be out of this mess. But Carissa, the Carissa from season 1 has returned, and she's probably more sharp and more cut than she's ever been, because she's through with Jacob and his shenanigans. So then we see that Basie comes back to, you know, because we see that Tasha and Rochelle are at her house. Basie comes in and says that, look, you need to pack your bags and get up out of here. Tasha's saying no, and then we see that Rochelle is a bully. Here she is, she's yanking up Tasha. If you don't get your butt up and go pack your bags. I'm like, oh, no, you not. What your mean self? Just as evil and conniving as she want to be, Rochelle the Jezebel. So Basie pretty much says that, look, I don't trust you no more, Tasha. So you're gonna go with us. We got to get up out of here. We need to go to the old spot, and then from that point we can go to Mexico, and we'll have all the money, and we be good. And pretty much he tells Rochelle he needs some money, and immediately Tasha knew where that money came from. That was the money that the bishop gave her to invest. She never invested anything. She literally took that money and pocketed it and gave him a dummy account to make him think his money was doing something. So, and then pretty much Rochelle was like, look, I helped you to get this money so you can kind of take care of old debts, but what the heck are you doing with it now? And you know that he's got an addiction and he likes to gamble. So he probably gonna try to flip it, on the gambling table. So we kind of saw that go down. And then we see that Lady May and Maxine, are getting pampered and everything, getting themselves ready because Lady Day is around the corner. And they talking about James and saying that, oh, she's kind of talking about, oh, you talking about that mean old lizard. Yeah, he just mad that we pushing him out the way, but that's alright. You now about to be Pastor Greenleaf, and this all is about to be yours. So, of course, Lady May is loving it. Then we see that Grace calls Aaron to ask, do you want to take a blood test to confirm whether we are brother and sister or not? And then she had asked, does Kevin know about this? And he said no. That was a lie. Because it's obvious Kevin knew. And later on, he does tell her that, yeah, Kevin was questioning why was I spending so much time with you. So I told him what happened. But she says that, look, tell him to put a lid on it. Do not say nothing to Charity until we know for sure. And I definitely want to be able to, confirm this before anybody knows. So he says, it's okay, Kevin, Kevin's cool. I'm like, yeah, but Kevin has a way when he gets in his feelings, oh, trust and believe, that inner queen comes out and Kevin will pull a stunt. We seen him do that with Charity. When Charity went across state lines with that baby, he called the police and had her escorted back. And she was down in Atlanta. So we know Kevin will pull a stunt. So how do we know that it's not going to be Kevin that ends up telling the bishop about Lady May? Because he got it out for Lady May anyway. So that would be interesting to see how that plays out. But they actually go and they get the test, and I'm gonna tap onto that later. So then we see that Jacob goes to Tasha's house to find her. The whole house was cleaned out. Then we see that Elliot, the attorney, is meeting up with the bishop, and he's saying that, look, this situation does not look good for either one of you, but it could work out with you, Bishop, if you claim cognitive dysfunction. Oh, the bishop wasn't having that, because the bishop got an ego. He's like, oh no, I am a man of the Lord, and I am not crazy, and I'm not gonna play crazy just to get off. I'm about to do a baptism, and guess what? I don't even need my Bible or my notes because the sermon is right up here. And then, first of all, but then Elliot's like, but Bishop, you could go to jail. Has that even ringed in your mind that you could go to jail for this? This is some serious crimes. And he was saying that, look, God gave me a vision to the last moment of my life. And guess what? It wasn't in a prison. So, and then he ends up leaving. And then Grace is like, oh my God, the only way that we're going to get out of this situation is Tasha Skanks. So then, now I want to talk about this whole situation with Isaiah and Zora. Zora is beginning to get into her independence. And this is pretty much the seed that her mother planted in her. She's pretty much, doing his advertising. She's, helping him. She's giving him ideas. and then now he wants her to pack his clothes. And I'm like, oh, little Ike Turner is something else. He is a trip. And then on top of it, he little pistol whipping Ike, throwing out his meat to all these groupies and stuff. So he's doing the utmost. But we definitely see that she's getting over him. And she even gets to the point, she's like, look, you won't let me go to Spelman. Won't you let me get a job as a videographer or something? Let me get your label to pay me. Give me something to do. And he was like, okay, fine, I'll talk to the label. But yeah, videographers, one thing that they do is that they pack their man's bag. So you need to get to it. I'm like, girl, you need to jump ship. And lo and behold, while they was on their way out, he was like, okay, we gonna be there. She's like, oh no, you're leaving. I'm not. And she's like, oh yeah, you're on your way there, but I'm leaving. And he like, what you mean you leaving? She says, I'm going back to Memphis. Look, I've done everything for you, and I'm at my wit's end. And she's like, but nobody told you to do all those things for me. And she said, yeah, but I was bored. And she's like, oh, so I'm boring now? Well, guess what? You born too, and you know what I mean by that. I'm like, oh, well, that didn't stop you from coming back to get her, so obviously she's not. Lies. And then he starts saying that, man, I wish I never went back for your ungrateful ass. I should have stuck it to your cousin when I had the opportunity to. So I'm like, interesting, because remember, Sophia was into Isaiah first. But then Ozora slipped in, and kind of took Isaiah from Sophia because it was obvious he was more into Zora. But look what you got out of that. God don't like ugly. So she pretty much says that, look, I'm going back home. I wish you well, but I gotta go. And then this fool starts to get rough and was like, you ain't going nowhere. She's like, Isaiah, move. And then he pretty much pins her down and tries to, get tough with her. She takes his head, slams it into the counter and knocks him down, and pulls out her phone, and she's on IG Live, letting me know, okay, this is Isaiah. He's going to let me walk out the door now. I'm walking out the door. I'm walking out the door. I'm like, Zora, yes. I'm so happy that she finally broke away from his ass. I knew that she was going to have to fight to get out there, and she took her chances, but she was smart at the end of the day. Like, yeah, put him on blast, because now that he's successful and he's somewhat of a public figure, yeah, put it out there that you beating on women, and think that you're going to have some endorsements, and these people that you working with, you think go on and think that these people still going to work with you. Yeah, she can pull the rug right from under you. But she had enough, and she was just done. So then we also get a scene with Cora Lee. She calls Rochelle saying that I don't trust where my kids are at. I'm going to go get my kids right now. And pretty much Rochelle was like, if you try to get your kids and, before this trial, you will never see them again. And she's saying that, look, I don't trust this situation. I don't like the fact that they are where they are, and I need to get my kids. And she pretty much tells her to stay right there, and she's on her way. So then we see that the bishop, and we also saw this the last episode too, Connie approaches the bishop and lets him know that they about to start interviewing pastors to take over the church because of all the bishop's mess and all of this negative feedback that they're getting about the whole IRS. They don't feel that the bishop should be in the pulpit, and that, to save face, we need to get a new pastor in here. And I'm just like, man, that is so messed up. The bishop can be any and everything, but as soon as he messes up, it's like the party's over. Lights off. So here it is, the bishop just finished his baptism, and all of a sudden he sees Connie's there with this minister. I forgot the name of the church he's part. I think it was called Harmony and Souls or something. But we see that this guy he has a lot of mega churches all over the world in over 100 countries, and pretty much, you know, Connie is just got this real shrewd look like, he's more accomplished than you. And, you know, we're going to see if he going to end up becoming, you know, the pastor that replaces you. And the bishop kind of peeped the game, and he was like, you know what, I'll leave you to your strategizing. And he was like, and then the bishop was like, the pastor was like, well, it's good to see you, James. He was like, yes, it's good to see you too. And by the last time I checked, it's still Bishop, and it always will be. And walked out, and then he was like, wow, that is the vision, that is the example of a church man who knows his days are numbered. And I'm like, that's interesting, because what actually happens at the end of this episode, I wonder what actually takes place. So I'm like, you just kind of get this feeling that something's going to happen to the bishop, but we don't know what. Because the bishop is walking with no fear. So then, after Jacob sees that there was nobody there, he calls Grace. Him and Grace link up, and they're sitting out somewhere staked out. And at first, we didn't even know where they were at. But then he pretty much talks about, you know, Carissa thinks I'm in love with Tasha. And then Grace is like, well, why would she think that? And he was like, because we kissed. And she hit him. And I'm like, girl, you should have slapped him, because Jacob's an idiot. It's like he's not getting it. And he's like, and she's like, why would you kiss her if you don't have no feelings for her? He's like, well, you know, and she's like, you know what, Jacob, you need to grow up. You really do. And then he started asking her about Darius. She was saying that, look, ain't really nothing going on with Darius, and he's the least of my problems right now. But then he starts talking about Carissa, and that he likes this bone in her cheek. Every time he kisses her, he feels that bone. And he, you know, he just loves everything about his wife. So in all actuality, you do love your wife. You just don't express it very well. Because here it is, she thinking she's not good enough for you, but in all actuality, you love your wife. And you do have feelings for her. But then, next thing you know, we see a car pulls up, and it's Rochelle and Tasha, and they're going to Coralie's house. So I'm thinking, this is interesting. How the heck did they know all this? And I'm like, oh, Grace. Grace set this up real good. So then we see that Rochelle is there trying to advise Coralie about her case and all of that. Tasha wants to find a phone, and she won't even let Tasha leave her sight. Then all of a sudden, she gets a knock on the Coralie gets a knock on the door. She goes to see who it is, and then Rochelle's like, "Don't answer it!" And she opened the door, and it was Jacob and Grace. And in this scene, yo, LaToya Luckett, you acted your butt off in this scene. Because we really saw Jezebel at her best. We saw how much of an evil snake Rochelle is. Because she starts going, because pretty much she says, "Come on, Tasha, you know, let's get up out of here." And Tasha's like, "I'm not going nowhere with you." And she's like, "Oh, you really want to have a problem?" She says, "No, you have always been my problem." And she says, "Well, what about Beijing?" She says, "What about him? I'm over it." She's like, "Oh, so this is the thanks he get after he pulled you from the gutter?" And she says, "First of all, he didn't pull me from the gutter. God pulled me from the gutter." I'm like, you better get her, Tasha. And then she goes to Coralie like, "I can't believe you would do something like this. You actually would believe her?" And Coralie was like, "Well, when she told me all this stuff about you, I didn't believe her, but now I do." I'm like, you better get her, Coralie. And she's like, "You really think the judge is going to offer... You think the judge is going to offer custody to you? Because you ain't nothing but a murdering bitch." And I'm like, ooh. Oh, no, you're not getting slick with your mouth. And then her and Grace go back and forth. And she's like, "Oh, you think you so better than me, huh? See, all that money that you grew up with made you think that." You know, you think that you're right when you're really wrong. And the thing is, I'm a sinner and I can admit it. And I wonder who's going to be sitting on that right side of the Lord when all this is over. And Grace was like, well, I hope both of us will be on his right side. And she's like, you're a whore. And she's like, excuse me? Who you calling a whore? She's like, I know what you did in Phoenix. What did she do in Phoenix? And how does Rochelle know about this? So I was like, but Tasha stayed back with them. You know, Jacob wanted to go after her. She was like, I ain't worried about her. What I'm worried about is you and Dad and clearing your names. And now we got Rochelle. Now we got Tasha. We can do that. And we see that Tasha and that him and Tasha have that talk. And he says that, look, I know you're in love with me, but you know I love my wife, and I'm not going to leave my wife under any circumstances. You understand that, right? And she says, yeah. And he's like, and you still want to help me? She's like, yeah. So they go to the FBI, and they tell, and like Tasha tells the FBI everything. Oh yeah, his name was Harmony of Hope. That was the name of the church that new pastor supposedly came from. And then we actually see that Bishop and Lady May have a moment, and the bishop brings up about that guy in that church, and Connie's over here trying to get a new pastor to take over, and pretty much Lady May says, I'll put a stop to it. And he was saying that, well, after your Lady Day, you can go on and live your life, and I wish you well. And she was like, well, what needs to happen is that I need to stay right here where I'm useful. So what you need to do is make me co-pastor. And he was like, no. He's like, well, I deserve it. And he's like, and that's exactly the reason why I won't give it to you. Because you're looking for an entitlement. You have this holy superiority about yourself that you're above it all. But at the end of the day, May, you're just another sinner like everybody else. You know, why don't you tell me everything you did? Lady May couldn't say nothing. And he was like, yeah, pride goeth before the fall. I'm like, you better get her, Bishop. Because her pride is what's gonna be her demise. So then we get the Lady Day event. You know, praise dancers. Charity is singing with Maxine, aka Miss Patti LaBelle. You know, and it was they did a beautiful duet, and I had to say, Deborah Joy Wannis looked so beautiful in that blue. I was like, wow, girl, you are making melanin pop on camera, baby. And she looked gorgeous, you know, because you know, Deborah's a gorgeous girl, so like, you know, Charity looked beautiful, and she introduced her mother, and May came out. It was like she was about to, it was like the moment she's been waiting for. She came out, finally, my moment is here. And she got up there and cut the fool, because her message was about, you know, the dreaded day of reckoning. You know, when you finally had to come to face with everything and tell the truth. And it was such crap, because but she did a phenomenal job preaching it, but it was a false preach, because she's not living by what she's talking about. She's still keeping her secrets buried, and she's not dealing with anything. And she was doing her thing. She had this pretty dress on. She's preaching, feeling herself. She's getting, you know, people standing up, giving God the glory. She literally is working it. You know, one of them Bible-toting Christians. You go in the Bible and can create a good sermon, but at the end of the day, you don't live by none of the words you're saying, and you don't actually follow the same things that you're preaching. And it just goes to show how fake and self-absorbed Lady May really is. And it was just crazy. So then we get a scene with, so while that's going on, we get a scene with Jacob and Carissa. And Jacob tells Carissa, I love you. And, you know, when I was out with Gigi tonight, I finally realized that I love you. And she's like, you realize? Like, all them years you've been married to that woman and you just now realize you love your wife? It's like Jacob just don't know how to word things correctly. And she's like, here it is. All this time I've been thinking, why am I not enough? What's wrong with me? You know, why is it that I have to keep dealing with this? And he was like, but I really do love you though. And she's like, it's too late. And she tells him, I want a divorce. And as soon as she says that, Zora comes back. So that was God kind of letting them know your marriage is not over. And that, yeah, probably with some counseling and some hard work and some prayer, yes, we can actually work out your marriage. But no. God, and it was like Zora came in, changed everything. They got their baby back. And here it is, she was ready to divorce him. And Zora came back. So I'm like, that was a glimmer of hope, saying that their marriage can be saved. And then here it is, you got Lady May on the stage giving a sermon. But there's another sermon that happened, and it was between Bishop and Basie. Basie come there with a gun, and he wants to kill the bishop, saying that I tried to shut you down, but for some odd reason, some force of Satan or something that you with is always helping you, and you ain't never gonna learn your lesson, so I'm just gonna have to shoot you my damn self. I'm like, yo, Basie, yo, shout out to Jason Durden. He was acting in this episode. He was phenomenal, because you really saw this tough exterior, all this vengeance and anger, but at the heart of it is a little boy who never made peace with his past. And it got to the point I nearly wept for Basie, because you really see who is on God's side and who is not. But the bishop, I thought the way he did it was everything, because he's saying, you killed my daddy. He says, I didn't know your daddy was in the church. And besides, he wasn't the one that started the match. Mac did, along with Daddy McCready. They're the ones who killed your daddy, but both of them are dead, so can't go after them. So go after the one person who knew what happened, but didn't know that someone had died until later on. But then he was like, I know what you're going through. And he's trying to calm him down. He's like, I know exactly what you're going through. You know, and it just goes to show he's thinking that the bishop got it easier than him. The bishop has gone through a lot. The bishop just got divorced. People trying to push him out of his church. He just found out that the woman that he got close to ripped him off. Like, you think... I mean, of course, it's his half-sister, but I'm like, the bishop's going through things too. But here you're thinking that the bishop got it easy. The bishop is going through just as much crap as you are, Basie. Because he says, he pretty much tells Basie, I understand why you feel this way. You lost your church, you lost your life. You know, you lost your church, you lost your wife, and now you about to lose your soul. And he was saying that, look, you're a man of God, Basie. No one can preach and have the magnetism that you do if you weren't a man of God. But you need to make peace with whatever this anger is, because it's not going to be good for you. You're about to ruin everything. This is your test of faith right now. And next thing you know, we thought that because we saw him tearing up and everything, like Basie was like literally being shaken at his core. Like, he's this little boy who is still mad at the bishop for killing his father, and he has let this hurt from the past turn into evil. And that's one thing that you all need to realize. When you hold on to hurts from the past, that makes you evil, because it puts you in a certain place. That's why you have to forgive, and you have to have a forgiving heart. Because if you hold on to all of that anger and frustration, it will turn you mad, and it will make you evil. And this is exactly what happened with Basie. And this is exactly what the bishop understands. And the bishop here it is trying to talk to him, but then he's pretty much saying that, well, I am going to make peace with God. Either, you know, we're going to see whose side you really on. Because if you with God, then you'll go be with him. But if not, you gonna burn just like you made my daddy burn. I'm like, wow. It's just so sad. So that was the last bit we saw, and we don't know whether he killed the bishop or not. But that's gonna be interesting to see how this gonna play out. So then we see that Grace has a moment with the bishop before he runs into Basie, you know, because she got her results and she called Aaron and told him to come to the church. But before she met with Aaron and before the bishop met with Basie, Grace and the bishop had a one-on-one moment, and it was a very surreal, beautiful moment where he said that you had my back even when I didn't want to see it for myself. You are everything to me, Grace. You've always been special to me. You pretty much, you know, risked yourself to save our family. I'm so proud of you. You're such a beautiful person. And we see Grace fighting tears because she knows in the back of her mind, this man that has loved me and has groomed me and has raised me all these years may not be my biological father, and I'm gonna have to live with that. So we see afterwards her and Aaron do meet up, and Aaron was like, look, we don't need to know about this if you don't want to. We don't have to look at the results. And they kind of go back and forth for a while till eventually Grace opens it. And one thing that really stood out for me in this episode, while Lady May is on stage talking about the day of reckoning, is today. The day of reckoning. And then all of a sudden she looks up and you kind of see her buckle. And you see Grace and Aaron coming in together. And it's like it's being shown up from above. She sees it up there. And immediately that just caught her like, your secret is about to scream its way out. So while you doing all this hooting and playing and dancing around the stage, acting like you're a woman of God, but yet you got all this sin that you're hiding, God was showing you right there. He sees everything you do. Because here it is, the two of them coming in looking like brother and sister. So I think it's kind of put out in the air that Lionel is Grace's father. And now Lady May is being confronted to deal with her issues, and she can't run away anymore. Now that you put yourself in that world, oh, trust and believe, you're about to get the real. So that's what I have, everybody. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. But next week's the season finale, and I can't wait because it's going to be everything. So subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my other social networks. I have them all listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of Greenleaf. So until next time, everybody, take care.